Welcome back to Music Videos on the Radio at this time. I'm your host Alex, and today I have with me AlGuy420, specialist on Christine Weston Chandler, and XXGeoX69X, specialist on the rest of the internet. Today I'll be letting them take it away.
Hello. So, Alex, do you know how Oscar Wilde died?
No, I don't know.
Okay, well, this,
Actually, I do know, but I'll humor you and say I
yeah,
don't know.
so he's not a famous person at all. So this is something our listeners are gonna want to hear.
Yep.
Um, but
Well, he
someone,
came before the internet, right?
yeah, he came before the internet.
Okay.
He was about 100 years before the internet, you might even
Okay,
say.
wow.
Yeah. Um, but anyways, someone in back then, being gay was illegal, and well,
Hmm.
Oscar Wilde, obviously a gay man. Someone at a bar said as much to him. They said he was a posing sodomite, and this kind of rankled him.
Okay.
And so he decided to sue them for libel. Uh, and then so as you know, when you sue someone for libel, that's for defaming your character.
Yep.
And so the way to escape a libel charge is to prove that what you said was not slanderous because it is true. And so the
Yes.
person who he sued for libel launched an investigation into him and found out that he was in fact a homosexual.
So he
And
basically he just baited someone else into like doing an impersonal investigation and digging up dirt on himself.
yeah, and then
Okay.
and then they proved in court that he was a homosexual. So then he lost the trial of suing them for libel, and then was promptly arrested. And
Excellent.
his health suffered greatly. And after he was let out from prison, because he was there for a handful of years, after he was let out, he only lived a few more years.
Hmm.
Um, but the moral of this, ironic as it is about Oscar Wilde, is please don't get worked up about things that are probably inconsequential. And that segues into our discussion of the first song here, which is Filthy Frank, Kill Yourself.
Oh, of course, yeah. And do you want to just elaborate on your interpretation of how of that connection? Is it that if what Oscar Wilde did was he got worked up about this slander against him, and then he effectively killed himself?
Well, partially, but more so, I think the Filthy Frank song is has a message to it. I don't think the message is the
Is a
obvious "go off yourself." I
no,
think
no, it's
the
definitely
the
yeah.
message is just chill out and don't take things so personally. Um, and that's the main connection there.
Yes, this is really a one of those message type songs, one of
Yes,
those like
it
protest songs, political
it
songs.
it definitely is. And so I sent you this article by Peter Lamarck about the uselessness of art, which brings in our Oscar Wilde reference
Yeah, I guess we
again.
we can put that in the description too.
Yeah, if anyone's curious in reading philosophy about aesthetics, and so in it, Peter Lamarck talks about how art, a lot of the time, it's created with the purpose of like convincing people of something or something like that. And he says this is propaganda and not really art in the honorary sense. And so his main thesis is that art becomes art in the honorary sense after enough time has passed that its initial message isn't really that important, and the art itself does become useless from a propagandistic standpoint.
Hmm. Well, that sounds incorrect, but that's fine, I guess. Uh,
And so he has plenty of good examples to back this up, like the the painting "The Death of Marat."
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously when that was created, it was propaganda to venerate Marat. Um, then Marat became unpopular, so the painter was almost killed and the painting was almost destroyed. Now, a few centuries later, no one really cares that much one way or the other, but people still like the painting because the painting is well painted, and people
Okay.
go and see it still, and so it's quite useless as a social purpose. Uh,
Right. So what are you trying to say about kill yourself then? Is
So I'm
it
trying to say kill yourself is still in the propagandistic stages.
okay? So eventually, it will be reevaluated as honorary art.
Uh, well, that's up to the test of time.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hold my breath. Let me say that.
Okay. Well, what do we think about the video though?
Um, I think well, I guess first I should ask Alex, do you know who Filthy Frank is slash was?
No.
No. Okay.
That
Uh, so this was your first
just
Filthy Frank experience?
yeah, you can just imagine you're humoring me like you did about Oscar Wilde.
Okay. Well, Filthy Frank, he's about nearly, yeah, like a decade ago now. Uh, Big internet man, made really edgy jokes.
Okay.
Mm. And and somehow he has become the template for a large amount of internet humor. So even today, people still share around Filthy Frank clips. But
Okay.
not to date ourselves too much, but when we were in middle school, he was quite popular.
Jeez. Okay.
Uh,
Back 5 years ago. You mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
right.
So uh, I guess I should just maybe we'll do the cutting to the chase. I think that worked last time. I think I'm gonna have to give this a 2.
A two.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I'm gonna give this one a positive score,
Really?
and
Okay.
I'm gonna explain why. So first, I'm gonna say I think the song itself is kind of funny, sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, so like there are some good things about the song. There's like the contrast
The
between the pretty
beat.
chill beat and the vulgar lyrics is nice, and I do like the repeated sampling of "Shut the fuck up," uh, which
Yeah,
does
that was
add
good.
like a certain rhythm to it. Um, but the video I think adds in a lot of integral visual humor. Um, a lot of it is Filthy Frank getting up to his usual kind of antics. I think the best one is when he dresses up as in the anime schoolgirl outfit, and
Yeah.
the reason is because he's doing that to impersonate the like angry blue-haired feminist type, which
I
is
think it's per
yeah,
yeah, yeah, sorry, go ahead while I look for the
I think, but it's such an unusual combination of opposite demographics because the type of weeb who would unironically say something like 2D greater than 3D and hates women and thinks that anime girls is pure would be the kind of person attracted to that outfit. And and uh and on it and the feminist the like extreme like misandrist feminist who he's exaggerating is obviously opposite to that in pretty much every way. And so combining them is like a kind of clever bit of dialectics, really.
yeah, yeah, of course. He's so what he's saying is you take the synthesis, then you bring in the antithesis, and then you synthesize them into Filthy Frank, basically. And which
Maybe.
sets the record straight by telling everyone to relax.
Yeah.
Well, I
And so
think I yeah.
he does go after everyone who is known, maybe stereotypically, to get mad on the internet, like weebs is mentioned, and radical feminists
And
and
women.
bronies and tech bros and soy boys and so on and so on. And he's just trying
Okay.
to offend them all.
Who are
Um,
yeah. Is the tech bro visualized in the video?
I think that one's more so in the lyrics.
Okay. I because maybe I should reevaluate to a 3 on this because w- in terms of the visual humor, I don't think there's much. I think the one that you gave is a good example. But other than that, there's a lot of standing in front of is that an actual painting or is that green screened?
It's probably green screened,
Okay.
but I'm not certain.
It seems like a deliberate choice because it's like a painting of a tree branch or something, and I thought maybe that's meant to reflect the twig that he gets shoved into his anus later in
Yeah.
the. I thought that might be some kind of symbolism there, imagery.
Yeah. The other thing that I like is that he has shot himself in such a way that he always has like a little bit of stubble, like he hasn't shaved for a few days, and his
Yes, that
temples
that
are always
continues
just
throughout his career, definitely.
yeah.
What you
So
that you like that? You like you it's part of the makeup and costuming. I
yeah, that's it's grittier, you know?
I will say
Uh,
unsurprisingly, the makeup and costuming, well, yeah, is by far the best part, I think, of this. In that this I do know that this guy's gimmick is wearing silly costumes. So it makes sense that that would be the selling point of the video.
yeah.
Um, I just don't think there's much humor besides the silly costumes and the characters he's playing. Like, I don't think it's like there's no like scripting or blocking or directing that's interesting, really.
Um, no, not hugely interesting, really.
Yeah,
I I do like well, this has a good use of diegetic noise when the guy throws the garbage can onto him, gotta say.
yeah, sure. Are we including the thing at the end where he throws the pasta falls on the floor?
Yes, of course.
That's
That's
I guess
another good
that's
little bit.
yeah. I guess that's I think that's also good use of diegetic noise in that it's uh like very true to the character and it's at the end too. I think diegetic, so really it doesn't mess up the song very much, and it just adds something, adds a bit of comedy if you're familiar with his characters. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that's I think I'll switch my rating to a 3 though. But there's really because there's not that much. There's him talking in front of a wall. There's him talking in the park while dancing, and there's him talking in a bathtub, and that's really it. And besides the encounter with the um whatever you want to feminist slash schoolgirl, there's not much actually. There's
Well,
not much
there's
movement in the video.
yeah, then some of the footage is, I believe, edited in from his previous videos also. Like when
Mm.
he's chatting with people on Omegle,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, or thrusting at himself with the YouTube banner on his face.
Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So I
So
think
I'm also gonna give it a 3 though.
okay. Okay. What do you want to say anything? This was your idea to talk about the internet music videos. So
Yes.
is there anything you want
So
to say about this kind of music video? Uh.
um, I think perhaps perhaps unfortunately, this is probably one of the best ones of
Really?
videos that are made by internet celebrities because a lot of the internet celebrities they're just some of them follow in the same vein as Filthy Frank. They try to do edgy humor and so they've got edgy diss tracks. And
Yeah.
I think Filthy Frank was the most competent of them musically, from what I've heard, which is probably why he went on to become a musician and the others didn't.
Yeah.
Um, which
I
yeah, which
just in
foreshadows our next song, of course.
yeah. Whoa. Before we jump into that, I would say that it's 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 clear that this is by a YouTuber. Like it's edited like a YouTube video. There's a lot of just static shots, even a bit of screen capturing, and the occasional dramatic zoom in. And besides that, just a little bit of handheld camera, and that's really it. Like there's not like I'm not expecting them to like really pan or dolly in on someone, but like it's not it's very static, I guess.
Yeah. But the handheld camera though, when there's the camera position right behind the stick going into his anus, you know,
Oh, that is
that's
good POV directing. That's
yeah,
true.
that is
Yeah.
reminiscent of Metropolis.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, obviously.
I
A
don't know
lot
if
of
you
a lot of greats.
I don't know if you recall that short shot in Metropolis where uh the guy, the like evil scientist guy is grabbing for someone and it cuts to a like POV of his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were going to remind me
Oh,
of the
no,
time in
just
Metropolis where someone gets anally penetrated by
no,
a
no, no. I'm just
person.
saying Frank
Yeah.
takes from the greats and he puts
Oh,
his own
okay.
spin on it.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. n- What do you think about what do you think about the YouTube style music video? Like, what do you think it's lacking? Is it just a budget, or is it um
Um,
does it suit the comedy of it well? Like, I don't
yeah,
know
I
if
think the low budget is definitely important to the comedy, kind of like how like Monty Python would like shoot their films in ways that like purposefully looked low budget in areas to exaggerate things.
yeah, I just don't know if how to put this. Like if you had more of a budget and you were doing a comedy song, like besides bringing in like props and like actors and all that, like what if he had, yeah, maybe that's really all you can do, right? Like in terms of
Yeah.
comedy music videos, there's not.
Yeah, well, because a big part of Filthy Frank's comedy is that he's like doing something socially unacceptable in a like social area. So if you hire like the more people you hire to do it, I don't know how much that would add because he's got his two guys with him. The one of them, the muscular guy who flexes a lot and looks kind
Mm,
of ridiculous in his um with his
yeah.
mannerisms, and the other guy who's like staring off into space a lot of the time. But like
Mm,
how many of more of those guys would actually add anything? I don't
no,
think they would.
I don't think so. And which one do you want to go to next? You sort of hinted at.
Well, I think next we should go to Joji.
Okay, okay. We'll come. I think there's a lot of connection between "Kill Yourself" and "I'm Holding Out for a Hero"
Um,
by Bonnie Tyler, obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, we can move to Joji next.
yeah. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about Filthy Frank's Kill Yourself.
No, no. I think yeah. You want to fill us in on Joji's video?
Okay, so yes, so Joji, Slow Dancing in the Dark. A pretty big hit. I don't know if you saw it. It has like 400 million views on YouTube.
Oh, geez, I did not see.
Um, but yeah, so Filthy Frank, uh, obviously he made a career change. Um, I think he has epilepsy, and so he was
Does he
like,
actually?
yes, he was putting himself in danger of going into epileptic shock a lot of the time with his old style of comedy. You know,
Okay.
he was really putting himself out there for his art, and
Whoa,
um,
whoa. This is hold on. This Joji's video also presented
yeah,
serious danger then.
yeah, and that, and I mean, he was in when he was doing the Filthy Frank stuff. He was actually like 20 and 21,
Yeah.
and so I think he like grew past that, and he wanted to do other things with his life. I suppose, understandably.
Yeah.
Um, and so yes, he changed careers to Joji, and he released a lot of music like this. Um, still, I think edgy, but in a more emo kind of way.
Yeah.
Um,
In a more serious, like self-serious kind of way, you might say.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I guess I'll ask you, what do you think of Slow Dancing in the Dark?
I want to like it, but I don't. I'd say like a maybe a 2 area, or it might be a 3. Let me just uh, get to my biggest gripe, which is the severe overacting, I would say, in the
Uh,
video.
yes.
Um, like the beginning shot, static shot, actually, I believe panning or maybe zooming in very, very slowly, and he's just like, it's like he's suffocating against the glass of a bus stop door. But this is just him chewing the scenery, just mugging it up, uh, and it's a little hard to watch.
Um, so yeah, I would agree. The I think there are two problems with the video. The big one is the overacting,
Yeah.
and then the other one is I guess the symbolism of being stabbed in the back by an arrow. That's like
Mm.
pretty obvious. I suppose it matches the overacting in that it's all extremely theatrical.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I mean, here's the thing, right? So they say in theater you have to be big because there are people in the back who can barely even see you, and they're all geriatrics, so they can't see anyone when they're even up close. So that makes sense why you're big, right? But then when you go to TV or movies, because everyone is very, is at least like a medium shot distance from you, visually speaking, sometimes even like very tight on your face. You don't need to exaggerate your movements very much. And this video is maybe like a prime example of that. Like that opening shot is just static. So every little thing he does is going to catch your eye. And when he's doing like big expressions, it just exacerbates that issue, right?
yeah. Um, yeah, I think this video is good actually. Um, because I'm just not quite as bothered by the overacting as you are.
Okay.
Um, and I think, and I mean, let me praise it a bit, I guess, which is uh I mean, it's obviously much more professionally photographed. Um,
Yeah.
like everything is uh lit in a more distinct way. It doesn't look like it was like shot in someone's room. Um, and
Oh, that's because most of the other ones, all the other ones in this episode are. But
yes, yes. So, but this one, uh, yeah, it's got interesting color palettes, I think. I mean, it's and the actual tone. I mean, I suppose it's kind of mopey in tone. Maybe not even just
oh yeah,
not even kind of, maybe majorly mopey, but um, that it does the tone of the images does match the tone of the song, and I think the song itself is pretty good.
the tone of the images or the tone of the colors. I
Well,
guess
the
that's sort of splitting
images
hairs, but
because of the colors, I suppose. Because of the colors and the way uh like the out of focus lights in the background, especially in the first shot, uh things like
yeah,
that. It's and I think the different locations in the uh video are all well selected and interesting. Like the street, him on the yeah, perhaps dangerously epileptic causing floor. uh
yeah. I think the one is he in like a train car or something, um, where he's like in the very bluish green light, and his skin just looks like takes on that bluish green color.
I think that's still him in the bus stop, just from a different angle.
Okay,
I could be wrong. It is pretty close up.
yeah, but that's definitely got a great color palette too. But
Yeah.
if I can just sort of undercut your point by 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 drawing us back into the acting here. If you go to 223, right? You have a fantastic, very nice mixture of colors of blood and his kind of blood in his mouth, the blood on his back, the white, the kind of sweatiness, but he's like clawing at his face with doing googly eyes,
Yeah.
which
That
is
that is yeah,
which
someone
is
should have
kind of
told him
hard
to
to
tone it
watch.
down there.
I mean, the most. Let me. What did we reference last time? We referenced Magic the Gathering. Well, here comes the first Star Trek reference. The most overacted death in Star Trek is in this episode where silence has least, and we're definitely putting this image in the in our podcast video. But this guy acts he's killed by a god by a mental snap of his fingers, and he reacts by screaming, grabbing his face, popping his eyes out, standing up, and then just that he can fall over again. And it's I
You
mean
know what?
the movement is definitely over the top, but like his facial mugging is not that different. And this is supposed to be a moody album, and you can't be like clawing and scratching at your face with your eyes popped out. Like that's gonna really distract from
You know what I thought
like
you were gonna make reference to? I thought you were gonna talk about oh geez, what's it called? When Arnold Schwarzenegger's eyes pop out of his head when he's suffocating
uh,
on Mars. It's
in
in
Total
Total
Recall.
Recall.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that works, I guess. There any eye popping thing really works, but I like the face. I think the face on hands is or the no the hands on face. Yeah, the hands. We're recording this late at night. The hands on face is the similarity there too, and I don't know for being a very like uh kind of I'm not sure if you want to call it woozy video. There's a lot of static shots with some that are genuinely a bit unnerving. Like he's all greasy looking, he's all sweated up. He's got bags. The makeup is good. It's all green and bluish. Um, Suddenly they hit you with the chord or like the title when he sings the title of the song. Then the song just swells and becomes huge out of nowhere, which is like they're trying to have like the bombastic heartache song and the moody like I'm gonna kill myself heartache song, and they just try and jam both of them in together. And I don't think it works sonically, and I don't think it works visually when he's doing this thing where like he's arching his back like he's getting shot and exclaiming, um, but it's shot not very close up, so you can just see his like full body experience as he's pretending to get shot and pulled back like a puppet on strings. And I don't know, it just seems a little sloppy. Like it could have done with some more editing, some better cinematography. You know, be a little bit more close up on him. Like at 142, he does the pullback thing, and then in and especially in this case, you see him bend down to go and like do it again, which like if I'm pretending to get shot in the back, I don't stoop down as if I'm preparing to arch myself back again.
Is that what you think he's doing there?
Well,
Uh,
like I think the getting shot thing is what he's sort of resembling, and then he crouches down like he's gonna go do it again.
I thought he was just falling over there.
He falls over by like going in like by bending over at the waist perfectly without like tilting to the left or right at all. Like he's just gonna fetal position now.
You know, maybe. Um,
Like it's not the Boromir death. Like when Boromir gets shot, he gets shot in the front, right?
yeah, exactly. You
And
can't bring that in.
sorry, he gets shot in the front, and he doesn't then just like fall backwards like you know in a line. He crumples to the ground. He doesn't just like bend down again.
Are you
Like
actually
he's
using
taken
Lord of the
his
Rings as your example of realism
like
in
he's taken
anything?
a seat. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things, right? How can any writer write about dying, right? No one's died and come back before. So
Well, you can observe people dying, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, all I'm saying is that the the acting is bad. The um editing, I feel like some of the shots could be more claustrophobic. Like when he's arching back and all that sort of stuff. I think it's there's so much empty space behind him that it looks kind of silly, if that makes sense.
Well, I
It's one
think
of those things where you're drawn so much to what he's doing that it starts to look silly. If that makes sense.
it's good that they have a more zoomed out shot for when he arches back because it's like a sudden moment of release. Like
Mm.
it's so like close in on his face for so much of it, and then there are the moments of the pullback as he falls back as the song swells, and I think those things uh do work well together.
Yeah, I can I can see that. Like with his maybe it's just part of the a funny part of the song for me that I find difficult to take seriously. But the whole thing is very moody, and then he just says something about slow dancing in the dark, and then it's like,
Your mic
really?
actually cut out there.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it. Slow dancing the dark. I'll do that lower, and and it's like this feels like a lot of artificial bombast, and he's really trying to wear his emotions on his sleeve to the point where, like, that to be clear, that's what I think it is. Like, I think he's trying to give this emotionally raw performance, right? But unless you're actually freaking out, like having an emotional like breakdown during your music video, there's going to be some level of acting.
Yeah.
And I just think that his attempt to be this emotionally raw is comes across as overacting.
Um,
And yeah.
yeah, I mean, I agree that it does come across as overacting a while. I just think you're, um, or I think that the amount that that brings that down is like a noticeable bit, but it doesn't ruin it. And
Okay.
there's a number of good things. Like, I mean, just cut to like a 153, for example, when he's hanging on the what do you even call it? When
Uh,
they close like
Fence. Oh, yeah.
they close the fence in front of shop windows that people can't break into them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
But
another
it's
good shot too. Yeah, with the
and yeah,
yellows.
like that's a well composed image, and it's interesting how the lighting is making the like the red arrow very vibrant.
Yeah, I do like the yellow suit is a good choice, or the white suit is a good choice because it just takes on the colors of whatever very easily. It takes on the colors of whatever lighting they're using. So it's
Yeah.
blue, white, yellow, any color basically. Yeah,
Oh,
I wish I had more to say, but um,
so yeah,
really
I'm
my
gonna give
recommend.
this one like I think a three, but like a stronger three. So I think this is
Okay,
actually this is an example of a music video where I'd say, yeah, if you like the song especially, you should watch this with the video. It's interesting. It's got its blemishes. It's not
yeah,
integral to the song, but it does add something quite often.
okay. I'm gonna say um I'm gonna give this a two, and you know why? Because I'll tell you. Because I think this video is much better if you watch it at two times speed. Because what that does is it makes the overacting a little less noticeable. You know, you kind of speed through it, right? And also, even better, it makes the song much better because the song is super sleepy. The best part is clearly in like the chorus where he says something or other. It was also very difficult to make out what he was saying because especially when I put on closed captions to try and watch the video juxtaposed with the lyrics, YouTube, owned by Google, this multi-billion-dollar company, could not muster up the AI power to decipher anything that was being said. All it got was like waiting for you or something like that, which is just an ad lib in the background, which is very clear to hear. Um, but
Yeah,
anyway,
well,
what he says in the
Google's
chorus,
automatic subtitle detection is not very good.
yeah, I guess it wasn't capable of identifying one word from the song basically. But um, yeah, so I'm gonna give this a two for two times speed being the optimal.
That's actually
Shameless.
such a Zoomer thing to say. Probably probably a lot of people who watch this are Zoomers and do watch it at 2 times speed because
That's
they
great.
they watch all their YouTube videos at 2 times speed.
Well, yeah, that's understandable, but I'm making a aesthetic judgment of the music too. Like it's too slow, I think. Or it's not too slow, but it's better when it's faster, I guess is all I'll say.
Well, you see, I actually watch my videos at 0.75 times speed
Oh, that's
because
gonna
I'm trying to increase my attention span.
you because you've brought it down, is what you're saying. Yeah, I
Uh,
wonder I wonder if it's gonna feel out of time. Well, it wouldn't feel out of time, but um
but
okay.
anyways, let's
Yeah.
are we we're moving on then
I think
to
we're moving on to what might be the best video
we're
that
moving
we've
on to what I think is going to be the most depressing discussion we'll have on this podcast.
um
And that is we're moving on to Chris Chan holding out for a hero. Chris Chan's cover of the song that was who did this song?
Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
and
eh, how
uh,
depressing this is going to be is going to depend entirely on how much we talk about Chris Chan.
yeah,
Um
well I think it's kind of impossible not to talk about Chris Chan.
well, sorry, he is the artist. I meant more his personal life.
Um even that, at least parts of it because well, here. Let me start by let me start by saying this. So I I've noticed that a lot of the time, great art has an effect that feels like a rippling of layers, where
Okay.
the the artist makes you understand how something is let's say in a narrative, the artist makes you understand how something's attractive to a fictional character, unattractive like consciously to the audience, and then attractive once again in its portrayal to the audience. Um, and like in our 6 9 episode, Madame Bovary was an example that did this. And one that you've seen would be in Spirited Away, when the
Mm,
parents gorge themselves. You know that scene.
yeah.
So there's the animation is beautiful, which is the outer layer of like the portrayal of it is beautiful. The
Hmm.
act of the gorging is disgusting, which
Hmm.
is the middle layer, and then there's the
Well,
inner
for
layer,
Asians, yeah, but yeah,
and then the inner layer is that the you understand why the parents in the narrative are like want to gorge themselves.
yeah.
And so a lot of the time skillless artists do not understand how to do this, and they have just 2 layers, which ends up with the finished project being ugly by not presenting it with the necessary outer style. And then truly terrible artists end up with 1 layer where they cannot distinguish themselves from the parents gorging.
So
And
you mean there's the sort of there's the empathetic layer, right? Like the understanding why something is going on. There's the um like literal layer, I guess, like the ugliness of them doing that, and then there's like the formal layer, kind of. Is that
yeah,
ways that you could sort of describe the three?
yeah. And and so when you have like a truly terrible artist, they have just the 1 layer, the inner layer, and that's just them creating uh masturbatory wish fulfillment where they don't realize that they are just the parents gorging on display. And
Mm.
that is what Christian creates, really. Um,
Okay. So
and
it's the ugly thing, but without any
it's the
any layer where you could under empathize in any way because it's too self-absorbed, I guess.
yeah, and and so there's and like this happens a fair bit, not just with Christian, like also uh Tommy Wiseau, who made The Room. The Room is like this, where as you watch it, it's clear that Tommy Wiseau thinks he's doing something great, and it's so clear that what he's doing is not great. And
Right.
He's like he's put himself on display, like the parents gorging themselves, but and he doesn't realize that he is just being a pig. And
He, yeah,
and Chris Chan is this I find this even more depressing for Chris Chan because Chris Chan is so obviously mentally disabled.
yes.
And um and so it just feels like exploitive and just uncomfortable to watch. Um
Uh,
and so many people seem to find it funny. Um, but the thing that they're finding funny is not the thing that Chris Chan has created. The
no,
thing
no, no.
they're
It's
finding funny
definitely, yeah,
is that Chris Chan is a buffoon.
yeah. This is like the complete opposite of uh pink guys kill yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like this is one is satire where you're laughing at the thing being portrayed in a ridiculous light, and the other one is just a ridiculous person you laugh at. But all that being said, what I'm getting from this is that you think negatively towards this video.
yeah. I think this video is pretty worthless. I think well, the video itself is obviously pretty worthless, just from like from a formal perspective. And then because and it's again like the 6ix9ine thing, where because there's no there's no style, there's nothing there. It's all a failure. You just kind of feel embarrassed for the person.
Yeah.
And like and
Yeah.
if you like to and it is just Christian putting themselves on display. And I don't really understand the internet's reception towards Christian because there are people who like they say they troll him, but they're just like blackmailing Christian into revealing personal information.
Well,
And
as Al Guy 420, I am the expert on all of this. But for yeah, for the audience, yeah, Phil,
and
we can elaborate.
yeah, and
Well, maybe we
like
could
if you look
specifically,
on
yeah,
if you look on like the CWC wiki,
uh,
uh
the quickie, as you might call it.
yeah, perhaps
Yeah,
they they present the trolls as though they're like just people who are out giving everyone a good laugh and not people who are preying on the naivete of the mentally disabled.
yeah. Well, that's just
And
because the other people who read the quickie are also people who would like to prey on the disabled. So it's like bullies will see other bullying people as people who are just having a good time, right? So
yeah,
I'm not
and
surprised.
yeah, but it's also it just seems to be like the um like the tone that the whole internet takes towards Christian. And there's another guy who this reminds me of, a kind of German internet celebrity named Drakenlord,
Okay.
um, who's in a similar situation. He Drakenlord, he's like there's something not well with him. And like people specifically got him angry, and then he doxed himself. He said, "Come fight me. This is where I live." And now like German youth travel across the country to like throw bricks through his windows and things like that.
I see. Uh, yeah, yeah. Chris Chan also doxed himself, so
Yeah. And so as it's just stuff like I'm kind of surprised that there are people in Germany who did not end up being as bitter and pessimistic as Schopenhauer when that's the
well,
like
that's
but so many
you're just
countries do.
underestimating the number of people who are either bullies or bullying ambivalent. Like that's just or at least are unaware of it, right? Like that's I think that's the way it goes usually, right? Is for people like Chris Chan, the only people who really have enough interest in him are going to be the people who want to bully him, right? Like I know of him, but there's nothing I'm gonna do to like help his situation, right? The only people who are motivated enough to actually do something are going to be the people who want to bully him, right? Because they also get the fame of, since they were the first to the territory, bullies were the ones who were first interested in Chris Chan. If you bullied him, then you would get some fame within that community, right? But if I came in and solved it, I absolved Chris Chan of incest, like no one's going to care because no one outside of Chris Chan would even know, would even really know about that.
Well, it actually did make a splash in a number of depressing ways in the mainstream
Well,
news.
okay,
With
maybe if I did that one in particular, but if
yeah,
I you know dispelled some of his other delusions, not that I could, but you know what I mean. I think that's the other side of it, is that um, you basically can't help him at this point. So I
yeah.
don't know. That is sort of depressing. But let me just tell you, I was definitely able to view this video in a way that is completely detached from the Chris Chan mythos. Um,
Well, then I envy you.
yeah, let me tell you, when you take out the all the paratextual media, what you see here is basically a professionally directed music video.
There's nothing about this that's professionally directed. It's like cartoonishly incompetent.
Okay, here's definitely the one point that I will uh concede. I presume because the camera would get in the way of the light, and rather than just putting a light like next to the piece of paper or something, Chris Chan for most of this video is holding up a piece of paper while trying to record it in an extreme close up, which means the paper is shaking constantly and the whole thing is blurry. That's a mistake, but everyone makes mistakes.
Oh,
That
let me
there is like the equivalent of the Joji overacting.
let me read from some of the comments in regards to this. Because there's one set of comments that I had to screen cap, which
Okay.
is somehow someone says their name is Sans Nom 5269 says
Okay, we can probably we'll be able to put this up on the
yeah.
video.
I love how in order to make a picture montage syncing with the song, instead of taking regular pictures of the pages and editing them on the video afterwards, he just recorded the pictures while trying really hard to focus as the song goes by. Classic Chris right there. And someone else responds, to be fair, I used to do the same thing in the first videos I ever made, but then again I was 8 years old. And someone else responds, I used to do thing Chris does, but then again I was 8 years old. Pretty much sums Chris up. And
Yeah.
this sort of like I don't know how you could escape from the understanding that you're of what you're watching. The same
Let
way that
me
when you watch Criss Cross, it's hard to escape from the understanding that they're children pretending to be
yeah.
tough.
Well, let me I will avoid your accusation by simply redirecting. Let me say another example of the holding the picture up to the camera is he's also um, I think he's recorded himself singing, and that's on like one track, right? And uh, and that's obviously over top of the Bonnie Tyler songs. That's all one track. And then I think there's actually a second track where that's just on the what he's recording with the video camera, because at one point when he does his like sort of power pose at 1 minute, you
Yeah,
can you can hear him
the
go
Dragon
ah
Ball.
as
He does
as he.
he does the Dragon Ball Kamehameha,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's
yeah, sorry.
that.
Later, that's the intentionally diegetic sound that I was going to get to and laud him for his expert filmmaking. But at about 1 minute, he he does a pose, and you can hear him go as he exerts himself. Um, but that I think will segue into what I think is good about this video. And simply put, there's a lot of just basic like editing techniques that he uses in this that I think actually work and make the video more interesting than some of like than the hello goodbye video. I will say it that much.
Wow.
Chris Chan is a better director than Paul McCartney.
Well,
Um,
I I I don't know how to respond to that.
there's just like some basic things that are have some visual some degree of interestingness is like he does the switch from his comic to himself in real life a couple times, right? Like the when he poses, it then cuts to an image of his character posing. Um, so I thought that was, and similarly, there's a shot of uh, a picture of the back of his head, and then it cuts to a shot of the back of his actual head.
Yeah.
Um, I thought those are things that provided some visual interest that would be absent in basically other videos which are just static shot videos like the Ticket to Ride, Help, etc.
Uh, I mean, I suppose it's kind of hard to when you compare it to Ticket to Ride and Help, it's kind of hard to say anything because those are extremely visually uninteresting. But it's just like all this like yes, it's true that Chris Chan has like some perhaps intuitive understanding of editing
Yeah.
in that in like as you said the cut from the back the head to the actual back of the head,
Mm.
but it's the like there are so many things that are just like not there so often, like the the way that Chris looks into the camera is just so uncomfortable always, with
Well,
just exaggerating like framing their own head in such a way to exaggerate their chin.
yeah, that not happen to Ringo a number of times? He got
I think I've
his many neck slash chin shots.
and I think I've called those out as weak points of those videos.
Okay, well
And
you're
they were
consistent, but I'll give you that much. There's even a cut to a guitar solo in this, Giovanni. Like
and the
that
guitar
that is
solo is over a is over a piano solo.
yeah, it is. Yeah. But that's doesn't change the point that not only do we go from a lot of there's a lot of quick shots, there's a lot of good editing, quick good editing, and then there's a moment that you also where the video lets you breathe a bit, where there's a nice extended shot of something that's not an extreme close up, and that is that kind of diversity, I think, lends it to being a competent video.
Um, I think at this point I need to share a personal anecdote, and perhaps this
Yes.
might be clouding my judgment.
Is this the time that you met Christian?
No, I've never met Chris Chan. Uh,
Okay.
sorry to cut your comic
Neither
interlude down like that.
neither am I, and neither am I, so we're good.
Um, but and and that is there's there's a strange trend in people who claim to care about those with disabilities, where they pretend that the disabled people are completely able. And there
Right.
was a time when I was in I think elementary school, when the whole class that I was in went to see a sort of dance performance involving children who suffered heavily from Down syndrome. I think it
Okay.
was, and
And they made
uh,
them dance for your entertainment? That sounds kind of
and
cruel.
yeah, and the people had and like they were heavily suffering from Down syndrome. So they were like in wheelchairs, and they
You watch what's
wheelchair
a dance performance by people in wheelchairs?
and they were pushed around by adults. Like these Down syndrome children were sat in their wheelchairs and were pushed around by adults in like circles or whatever while classical music played. And it was and like the adults were like claiming and pretending that the disabled children themselves wanted to put on this event,
Yeah.
and and then afterwards, when that was all done, the MC got up on the mic to talk about how brave the disabled children were, and everyone clapped. And it was that moment that was so painfully false for me. Probably the most painfully false experience of my life,
Well, they never said at any
everyone,
point that they were actually good though, did it? Did they? These people? They just
yeah,
said,
they're like,
"Hey."
"Oh, they're so brave. Can you believe they're doing this?" And
Well, it
everyone
is it is
claps.
brave if to do something that you have little ability to do,
I don't even
just
know
because you
if
have the passion.
I don't think that the children wanted to even do it. It was just like something that was proposed by the other people. And everyone
Yeah, that's
clapped,
probably true.
and everyone clapped as though it was it was like something celebratory, but it was so obvious to everyone there that the disabled children just didn't have autonomy in the matter, that their handlers put it on.
Yeah,
And
they were just told to do it, and they
yeah,
didn't
and this
have a
this
really choice.
this rapturous applause, it was just everyone doing what they felt they were supposed to do in this specific social scenario, but which none of them believed in.
Well, I'm not
And
sure. Yeah,
so every time like something like that happens, every time people like celebrate, "Oh yeah, isn't it so incredible what this disabled person does?" And it's so obvious that the disabled person is too disabled to be doing it. It's like you're supposed to say, "Oh yeah, that's incredible." And it's just
yeah,
so false, and it makes me feel so much shame for just living in
disabled
a
people.
world that does that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure your example meets your point because I mean, it is brave to go out and. I mean, you're sort of yeah. I guess if you're tying their hands, it's sort of difficult. Like if I said you have to go and perform in this theater or something, or you have to go to the CN Tower, and I force you to, but you're afraid of heights. When you came back down, maybe it'd be a little false to say, "Oh, you were brave of facing your fear there," when I kind of forced you to. But I'm not sure if that's like necessarily that false, but I do understand the larger sort of point you're making about where you pretend that yeah, disabled people are fully abled, and you kind of like refer to their products, the products of their labor, as if like they're on par with other videos. In this case,
Yeah.
um,
And
but
and
yeah,
for reasons like that, I found steadily less and less humor in things that are so bad they're good, because a lot of the time it's just like this Chris Chan video or like The Room, where it feels like the creator is being exploited because people are encouraging them to laugh at them, and
mm,
or it's and which I don't know if that's even worse uh than when people feign respect, because I think the feigning of respect is just ungenuine on top of being disrespectful. Whereas
yeah,
like encouraging them to do something embarrassing is just disrespectful, and no one's hiding that they're laughing at Chris Chan.
I will say that the I don't really laugh at Chris. So, since I've had much experience with the Chris Chan uh, side of internet, by which I mean I thoroughly interrogated Chris Chan for a solid 4 hours before I had to tap out. I tapped out and I talked out. Um, what find, I think a lot of people, the silent majority, as the classic saying goes, just sort of have a morbid curiosity in him. Because I think when you have people who have like zero self awareness, zero, they end up doing things that like completely naturally to them, right? And a lot of those things are things that come naturally to a lot of people, but most people have the awareness to not actually go and do them, right?
Yeah.
So I think people have a bit of morbid curiosity. They sort of like seeing other people. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, people like seeing Chris Chan living the truly free life, and they live vicariously through his complete lack of filter. But it is kind of interesting to sort of see someone in effect have their lives ruined by the fact that they have no filter when because it sort of says like, oh wow, we're all a little like this, and that's
Well,
sort of like Like
I
the
think
message
this
is
is,
behind a lot of horror movies, you know?
but I think this is part of the problem is that people view Chris Chan as like a character in fiction. And I suppose these events could very well be funny if they're in fiction, where there's someone who's just like has such an ego, but so little
But yeah.
awareness and that kind of thing.
Uh,
But it
yeah,
would,
I'm not. Yeah,
but that's,
you couldn't just if I just told you that this was someone doing an act, would it still be funny? I would just say, well, now you're just making fun of disabled people. But yeah, I know
well,
that's not really your point, but
no, my point is that like the kind of psychology that you're describing that's interesting
yeah.
is a lot more interesting as like a thought experiment than seeing it actually happen. Because seeing it actually happen is just I just find it incredibly depressing.
Well, yeah,
I
but people love being morbidly curious about things. That's why it's like all these trashy reality TV shows, like My 600-Pound Lifestyle or something like that. That's people watch it because they're like, you know, not they don't just want to laugh at that sort of thing. I think they also want to sort of like, yeah, morbid curiosity. I don't really need to explain what that is. I think it,
yeah,
but
but
I don't
it,
know. I can see this video and be like, yeah, this is honestly
I
the editing and stuff. I'm not sure. Like the fact that he's like whenever he's in the video with his face to the camera, it's clear that he's like a 20-something-year-old man with no awareness, right?
I think 31 when this was made.
Really? Hold on. If Chris Chan is
'Cause-
truly the most documented human
Oh,
being,
wait, no, sorry. Now they're 41. So this was 14 years ago. So
yeah,
yeah, so
late 20s.
in their mid 20s, late 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it becomes then I get the slight awareness that this is like something to be um like morbidly curious about. Like there's something terrible about this. But when it's just decent editing, a decent mixture of shots,
Okay, but what are the
I
shots of Alex? The shots are of Chris Chan's amateurish, out of focus. The shots are out of focus. Uh,
yeah.
like amateurly drawn cartoon, and like again, I don't know how you can in this instance because Chris Chan has like no awareness whatsoever.
Hmm.
It's hard to separate it from anything else because it's like specifically intertextual. It has the Sonichu comic going on, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Christian improvises a verse dedicated to Ivy. Uh,
yeah.
who I imagine you know who Ivy is. I don't.
Yeah, more or less. Ivy is, I think, someone who. So Chris Chan obviously has his love quest. Um, and I kind of feel terrible just saying it. He's just a troll, basically. That's who Ivy is.
Oh, a
Who
someone.
pretended to pretend, basically pretended to be in love with Chris Chan.
Yeah, exactly. Like how can you separate this when literally written into the text is this sick product of someone
Okay, well,
deceiving a disabled person.
listen. We live in capitalism, and every music video is a sick product of exploited labor. All right, so don't even hit me with this ethical dilemma that I'm supposed to apparently care about. And really,
I think the psychology of people who watch it are different than what you do. I think this I
maybe.
think the psychology of people who watch it are like especially looking through the comments, they're people who are so pathetic. They've accomplished nothing in their life, but they look to this because this is someone who's somehow accomplished even less, and so they feel a bit better about themselves.
That is so sad. If if you're comparing yourself to Chris Chan to make yourself feel better, that is like you literally cannot point to someone who is I mean, I guess he's accomplished some things, but that yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
and
unfortunate.
that's what I think people are doing. Like, come on, Where did this get shared around? On 4chan? Like,
Okay, here's what I'll say about my experience with this video and why maybe I came away with it thinking about it more positively than you. When we were looking for this, we were temporarily skipping like we were looking to see if there are any Chris Chan videos, and we skipped through this video very briefly. Really only enough for me to notice the painful nails on a chalkboard level singing, right?
yeah.
That is all I remembered when I actually came back to watch. I never watched the original thing in full. I just remembered had like 5 seconds of this ridiculous singing over the top of another song, right? And then I
Yeah.
watched it, and I'm like, actually, hold on. There's editing. There are different shots. There are close-ups. There are like medium close-ups.
The
There's
shots are
there's
out
a
of focus though.
there's a medium. Well, it's like recorded. It's like from 2009, probably on a camera that was made in like 2000. So like it starts with like a medium close-up of him playing his guitar, and then it goes to a close-up to his fingers, and then we have the rhythmic, like, to be fair, this definitely took a lot of time to rhythmically edit on the beat each of the I won't even say each of the many cuts in this, right?
Yeah.
So maybe no I had no expectations, basically. Like I was expecting like a selfie style video where he just sings into the camera for 5 minutes, and then I see something that has basically the hallmarks of a lot of uh, music videos: rhythmic editing, different types of shots, uh, different art styles, I guess. Realism versus his cartoons.
Okay.
Um, and visually, if I just like turn off and just like look at the images go by, it is more interesting, I think, than Hello Goodbye.
It
Also,
has,
think about this: when he says "and he's got to be fast" or whatever, it's a
and then it
picture
cuts
of,
to Sonichu. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think that's actually just, oh yeah, yeah, it's Sonichu. Yeah, I thought Sonichu was yellow.
Yeah. For some reason, Sonichu is blue here.
Okay,
Which kind of confused me.
I think that's just Sonic, isn't it?
No, because if you no, because there's the tail is
Oh yeah, true.
like a lightning bolt,
To be
and they've
honest,
got
I've probably
they've got
in the
the
last
specs on the. I mean, it's hard to see because these shots that he's so masterfully cutting between are out of focus.
week, I've consumed more like Sonichu adjacent material than I probably ever have consumed of Pokemon material. So, just
Wow.
not to say that I consumed too much Chris Chan material. As I said, just about 4 hours, but that's more than my Pokemon knowledge. Uh, yeah, I guess I'm just considering it as, if I had a room that is so cluttered that all I could do was that basically I could not move, I could not rearrange anything. All I have is like the piece of paper on my desk and a place in the middle of the room where I can stand. I would not be able to come up with something better than this.
Um, I I think you're now taking the. I think you're picking and choosing which parts of the external world you want to bring into this.
Like the
Because what
budget sort of
yeah,
thing.
because what you're saying only sounds impressive if you already understand that like that Christian only has a room to work in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see that from the video. It's
Yeah,
clear that it's,
but like so once
yeah.
you compare it to like the 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 grand scheme of things, it just seems like crushingly obvious how poor this is in so many ways. And of
Okay,
course, like the
that's
top
fair.
comment on the video is someone saying the saddest thing is that this is the most effort Chris has ever put into a
Yeah,
video.
I did see that. But it is like this video, this podcast takes about like half an hour to edit, and all we really need to do is put like 10 different images together.
Yeah.
This must have taken like 10 hours for him to edit this video.
Okay, but I don't care. I don't
I'm,
care how
I'm
much
just saying. I'm
effort
just saying.
you're just now you're just
It's
putting things
definitely
like according to effort. Like
it's
I bet
definitely
if
high
you
end.
gave me if you could somehow get me to live 1 million years, there's no way I could paint something as good as the roof of the Sistine Chapel. But if I then took the full 1 million years to paint something, you wouldn't be like, well, you put so much more effort into it than Michelangelo put into the roof of the Sistine Chapel that they're probably comparable. That just make
Yeah,
no sense.
yeah. I guess here's the that's 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 the thing. I guess there are there are elements that are respectable. I won't say very good, but are respectable, and elements that are very bad, that are both extra-textual. So I guess if you start introducing extra-textual stuff, it doesn't necessarily make it a better video. I'll grant that. But um I don't know, I guess just in conclusion, I was impressed that it had um enough music video tropes. Like it's basically just skating by on tropes. That's I mean, is that surprising when his IP is Sonichu, which is just
Yeah,
obviously stealing
exactly.
other IP.
What else do I need to say?
It's no wonder that his music video is just good because he's just taking typical tropes, right?
Like Alex, are you hearing yourself? You're saying this is good because Christian is taking other tropes and editing together and photographing them in a way that's out of focus and then managing to edit them together uh like to the beat.
Okay, yeah.
There's one thing
Here's
there which is good, which is that they've edited them together to the beat. Like yes, I fully grant that.
yeah.
That is somehow better than what the Carpenters did. True. But
And better, and also better than House of Pain, because when Bonnie Tyler says you got to go fast, then he shows a picture of Sonichu, whereas House of Pain couldn't even get that right. They say talk about police brutality, and then 2.5 minutes later, at the end of the song, they actually show it.
yeah. So yeah, there are moments of I suppose you would call it inspiration.
Yeah,
Uh,
he saw the mistakes that other directors fell into, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll improve on this." Uh, okay,
uh,
here's the
let
really
let me give you a psychological profile of the kind of person who I've complained about before. The the one and you know I'm gonna use only the best of sources here. My source is gonna be the Unabomber. Uh,
okay.
but
May he
but
rest in peace. Eh?
yeah, may he rest in peace. But Ted Kaczynski talks about how left-leaning people, they often feel that the groups they stand up for are inferior. And that's why they so stridently want to turn them into an ideal member of industrial society, because they can then like erase that group by incorporating them and satisfy their own conscience. And that I think grows out of like the Nietzschean criticism of radical egalitarians being people who simply hold the same values as their society while pretending to stand in opposition to them. And
Wait. So Ted Kaczynski was saying that, yeah, you see left-leaning people stand up for people who they see as inferior, so that
yeah,
they can make them not inferior anymore, right?
well, because they think that these people are actually inferior to them, and they have this immense internal guilt of thinking that these people are inferior, and so they want
Okay.
to just then to prove they feel like they need to prove that oh no, like if you're standing up for racial equality, you're like oh no, black people are able to do just as much as a white person can.
So if you feel bad that um that animals are being
Yeah, he also
like
uses
killed,
animal right.
then you have to come up with animal rights to make them more like humans. I mean, I I I would push back on that because I don't want to turn this into a. If we actually get into philosophy like we did for Billy, this is going to become a 3-hour Chris Chan podcast.
Yeah,
But but I'm not sure how you can be guilty of someone being inferior if you actually think that they are inferior, like intrinsically. Like if I actually think black people deserve less than white people, then why? would I feel guilty about that.
Well,
Um,
no, it's not because you actually think they deserve less, it's because you feel like they are lesser in some way, and you
and I
also
don't
think
deserve it.
that you shouldn't feel like they're lesser in that way. And in the same way, it's people who pretend that the disabled are just as abled. They feel embarrassed because they don't know what to do when they're presented with a disabled person who they
Yeah,
look
yeah.
down on, but they know the societal expectations are that they're not supposed to look down on them. And so that's why they clap when they don't feel it, and it's just
Okay, that's actually good. I'm not sure about this sounds kind of continental, psychoanalyzing people, but I will say I think this is perhaps breaking our rating system, where if a one is it ruins your your impression of the song. That could not happen. No matter what you showed me, uh,
yeah. So
that would not happen.
I suppose Christian is an enigma here because taking the song on its own, if you ask me what the video would be like, I would guess that it is the video that it actually is. Um,
And I'd see again. I would think it'd be even worse, but that's like I thought it'd just be static shot with him and a guitar. Like that's what I was coming from, which is why I was inclined to give it a two.
mm,
Um,
I see. But in the but I find that the video does actually make my enjoyment even less because like with the normal thing, like yeah, I feel but if I was just listening to it, I'd be like, "Oh boy, this is someone who is like clearly not all there and should not be given access to the internet." But then with the video too, the showing off of their homemade comics and things like that, and it just really solidifies that this person is like in many respects as much a moral agent as a child is,
yeah,
and and that just adds like whole other layers of discomfort, and which like is just especially exemplified by just a lack of artistry both in the drawings and in the photography and the blocking.
the, yeah. Guess you can call it blocking, even though there's not much movement in it. Um, yeah.
So I'm gonna give this a one.
Okay, I'm going to give it a man. I was kind of while you were talking about that, I was hoping you would stall for a bit more time because I feel like you've definitely um stolen the show in our internet episode. I think all of your takes have been better. I just not sure I can give it a one because of the rating system. I might give it a it is really unfortunate for the Beatles too, because that means that the Beatles, having written some of the best music, must also have made some of the best music videos, or else it might, bring down the average quality of their material. Um, really, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm about as indifferent to it as yeah. I'm gonna go with the two. I'm gonna go with the two because I'm about as indifferent to it as I am to like um the hello goodbye video. Like if I had to listen to both hello goodbye or uh any holding out for a hero, I would rather be doing something else with my hands and looking somewhere else rather than watching the video. Um, so it's going to be a two for me.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
uh, thank you for listening,
thanks for listening.
dear listeners. Next week we go back to more professionally produced. I guess we can't really say that when we had Joji in this, but
Yeah,
non but music of the last century once again.
the non-YouTuber century.
Yeah. And our next group of songs are what are they?
We have not come up with them. This has
Okay.
been, yeah, this is, you might have been able to tell, this episode we are recording just after we recorded the last episode on jogging my memory.
Oh man, on the
So yeah,
Beatles, the
on the
Kinks, and Led
yeah,
Zeppelin.
yes. And as you might have been able to tell, I have been running a pretty tragic sleep deficit, and it is nearing midnight. So if you could excuse that, and next week we're gonna come back strong with some undetermined videos, and we will see you then.
All right. Take care.